Hi there, I am Brian Wood. I'm the Technical Communications and Outreach Manager here at Wolfram. Mads is here to talk to me a little bit about computational essays, Wolfram notebooks, and sort of show us some examples of papers that have used the computational essay format. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. What exactly is a computational essay? What do we mean when we talk about that?
Mm-hmm. So let me start the story from a very strange position. Why lots of apps such as Instagram and etc. why they are so popular? I would say the main reason is that it gives you the possibility of telling a personalized story about something. Okay,
Right.
you are the user and you want to tell your own story and you want to have all the applications at the same place, like editing the video, audio, picture capturing, merging them
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. All the
You want
media.
all of them together.
Right.
uh, what if you want to do the same for something more sophisticated, like doing a computational analysis? Like you read the news, they're talking about COVID data, and you would wonder, okay, what's going on in my country? What's going on in my neighborhood? What's going on in my state? And you see, like, there are some data, but you would say, look, I would like to tell my own version of that story. How should I do that? Like, I would like to use like text. I would like to write down some codes. I would like to do some visualizations. This is the very basic idea of a computational essay. It's basically a computational storytelling. Like, you're using, programming language, you're using text, you're using visualization to tell a story in a computational way. And that story can be read by anyone else, and that story can be changed by anyone else. The same way that, when you upload, a video on any of these social platforms, someone else, they can pick one piece and they for something else. So this is somehow, in short, this is the very basic idea of a computational essay. It's a platform that helps you to tell your own computational story on any topic. Let's say
Right.
topic X. It can be anything. It can be COVID, it can be agriculture, it can be education. Your choice, your interest.
Right. So it sort of takes that idea of a multimedia platform kind of a step further, where it's not just being able to post a picture or a video, but actually being able to sort of create and build these computations.
Yeah, so I think I'd like, if you're okay, I'm go ahead and I'll share my screen, because then we could talk based on that. So
Right.
by the way, like, you see the links here, like, anyone, they can just, use that links, and you can, download the material that we have, that they are all public. So this idea, as you said, having this integrated, ecosystem that you could have code, you could have text, you could have image, you could have, interaction, everything else. That was the very basic idea of, Wolfram language. And at Wolfram Research, this company has been, pursuing this idea for more than 3 decades. And in the past, like, whenever, if, like, let's say that, if you open any textbook, or if you read any article, anything that has been used for communication of knowledge idea, it was like very static. Okay. So here you can tell your story using text. You can use code, but you can also explain your code, and you can also provide some visualizations. And the biggest benefit is that any of these, especially, the code, because this is the main part that producing, some result, it can be easily modified by anyone else. Like, you are somebody who is seeing this code, and you would say that, okay, this guy is using, cellular automaton rule number, whatever. You would say, I'm interested in rule 30. Let me explore rule 30. You can easily modify the code, and you can start, working on rule 30. So that's the main new novelty of, like, computational essays in Wolfram language. It may sound trivial right now, but believe me, it was a very, very difficult from the technological point of view. Like, it took some time to develop, the proper technology to have this integrated ecosystem that you could have everything
Right.
at the same place. So let me show you one example. For example, this is a sample of a computational essay. So as you can see, it is started with the usual narrative text. It tells a story like integral of Gaussian function, blah, blah. Then there is a piece of code, and above that, there is an explanation. So the beauty of Wolfram language is that, the code is very similar to our spoken language. So if somebody's interested, they can just look at that. So it says plot, and then we have exponential, and then we have a range, and then it says, plot range should be here. So, which is, if you read this code text, it's
Right.
explaining the code in words.
Yeah, it's
and this
sort
is the
of like
corresponding visualization. Sometimes, maybe the code first impression, oh, it's too complicated, but you can, read the code text. It tells you, like, how the code is doing, its job, which is basically, this simple visualization.
right.
So in short, the idea is that you're telling a story, but this time, this story is a collaboration between human and explore like chemistry, you can explore education, you can explore COVID, you can explore your personal health data. Like, if you have one of those, smart watches or apps, if you have your heartbeat and etc., you can just plug the data here, show some graphs and see what's going on with your body when you're sleeping. This exploration can be done on any topic. So at Wolfram, we usually say it's computational X, and that X can be any topic, any field of research.
Right. Yeah. Any computational subject can have a computational essay to go with it.
Correct.
And essentially, at this, especially nowadays, pretty much any subject can be computational, which I find kind of interesting. You see a lot of things on the Wolfram community and things like that you might not have thought to compute about. So.
Yeah, for example, like, let me just mention, like, one of your essays, like, about politics and, presidential nominees, like, you would ask, like, what is the main, like, the topic of their interest? Is it possible that, based on the talks that they have given at different places, can I explore, like, this candidate is very keen on this topic, or he wants to do this particular thing? It's a computational exploration, and it can be done, using this platform.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the stuff in digital humanities. I think it's a real up and coming thing.
One other thing that I would like to mention, because those who are familiar with one of the most important, crises that we have in academia, because I personally, before joining Wolfram, I was a university professor. So one of the biggest challenges that we had was, reproduction crisis, replication process.
Right.
You read an article and you would say either experimental or theoretical, but let me focus on the theoretical papers. You would say, okay, let me reproduce the results. They're talking about the data, they're talking about the modeling. Let's see first if I can reproduce the same data, and the second, what if instead of using this assumption, what if I modify that, tweak it to see what would be the outcome? Believe me, like, if you talk with any scientist, this is one of the most difficult things to do. Like, a published paper in one of the most prestigious journals, finding the data. Where is the data? How I can get that data? And then translating that data into a computable format, because yes, the data is available, but making that, computable, that's not easy. There should be proper formatting and everything else. And then understanding, like, what is the actual modeling? What are the parameters that they have used? How they model, all the interactions? This is one of the biggest challenges in sciences. And I personally believe that, a good answer for this crisis is a computational essay. It's a platform that you provide everything that you are using to your reader, and the reader can decide that, okay, this is the data. So the data is here. I can use this data, I can change it, and I can implement it on a different system. Let's see what's going to be the result. Because the most important thing in science is that the result must be reproducible by anyone else. If someone else cannot reproduce that, it has no scientific value.
Right. And it's the way you described it, it is sort of a data science workflow. It's like you have to make sure that the data is valid and that, it's usable, which means that it should be usable for other people too. And I think that's sort of where that computational essay comes in. You can have it all built into one little standalone kind of thing where you've got all the data and the analytics, and then, you can allow people to sort of explore that on their own.
Since you mentioned data, for example, nowadays, one of the feedbacks that I get from many of our users is that where we can find the data about COVID. Like, I want to see what's going on in my neighborhood. Like, I want to understand, like, how things are evolving in terms of, spread. Is it going up? Is it going down? Is it the curve flatten? Like, what's going on? And people, again, very similar to that personal videos that all of us is now using some apps to produce. People, they would like to produce their own graphs. They would like to plot, one parameter versus another parameter. They would like to see, is there any correlation, for example, between income and the number of, confirmed cases? Is there any correlation between, I don't know, the fraction of, population with health insurance and what's going on, with COVID? These are very important questions that professional users would like to explore. But the question is that, is it easy to find all these pieces together and do that simple, analysis in terms of a computational essay? And I believe, at Wolfram Research, we have the answer for that. And the answer is yes. Just to showcase, one case, since we are talking about COVID.
Sure, yeah.
This is the resource page that we have for, COVID-19. As you can see, we have a very large collection of, curated data. We have, geographic distribution, genetic data. All know that. But at Wolfram, we have done that and it is available. And then in addition to that, we have a collection of, computational essays on many different topics. If you want to understand about some spread modeling, like compartmental models, we have some collections. If you are interested in logistic modeling, we have some collection. If you are interested in agents-based modeling, some simulation, even like just visualizations, like, how I can visualize the data for this particular, region or for this particular place. If somebody is interested, they can go through all these computational essays. This is basically our resource. On the top of that, we have some nice demonstrations, blog posts, even a course, like, if somebody is interested to learn, like, how they can do all of these things on their own. We have Wolfram U, lots of courses. We have study groups they can join and they can learn how to use, computational essay for any purpose that they have. So let me show you, if you don't mind, let me go ahead and pick, for example, let me just pick this one that me and you will wrote. So this is on cloud.
And if anyone watching has not used the Wolfram Cloud, that is something that they can basically sign up and use for free. So what you just did here, where you can make your own copy of things, basically anyone can go in and do that.
Yeah, this is basically, a Wolfram notebook on cloud. Like, that's what you see here. And let me just scroll down. It's a simple, model. It is a logistic modeling that has been done. You see, it has been done for this region. And what I did here was very simple. This is the original code that you can find. And I said, okay, sorry for zooming in. They did it for Hubei region, China. Let me see what it looks like if I implement it on South Korea. And this is the piece that I wrote, like, a few seconds ago. So you can, instead of, look, what's the difference? You are getting the data, and then here, instead of going to Hubei, I'm not gonna explain, like, what's the meaning of the symbols, just quickly. Here, I'm just saying that, okay, the country should be South Korea, and show me the confirmed cases. And since it is an aggregated, data, let's look at the daily data, and I just apply differences, and I'm plotting that. You see, going from Chinese data, now I have the South Korea's data. And if I look at that, somebody can easily see that first wave, and now second wave, and thanks God, their second wave, it's going down. So you see, this was a computational essay written for this region. But now I can start exploring a different region. I can explore South Korea. And people, they can explore any region which is available in this, resource data. So they just need to see, okay, so what do we have in this resource data, which is basically all the data available from Johns Hopkins University, which is more or less all the countries in the world. And for some countries, we have the breakdown for the regions. So
Yeah.
It's basically the
there's a
most
lot there.
comprehensive data set. So
Yeah.
you can do whatever you want, and you can implement, the same exploration. As you can see, everything is done for Hubei. You can easily replace Hubei by your favorite region. For example, here I did it for the South Korea.
Right, and it's a lot more convenient than, for instance, having to go back and get in touch with the author and say, "Hey, I read your study. I'd be interested to find out what it would look like with these different variables, different parameters." You might end up sort of going back and forth and discussing that. Whereas in this case, you can just figure it out on your own. You can just plug in, "Hey, what happens if I use South Korea here? Let me go ahead and see what some of these different parameters do," and you sort of get that latitude to experiment on your own. And I think it sort of accelerates things. You can
Definitely.
figure stuff out faster.
Yeah, much faster. And as we were discussing, I hope my internet connection is fast enough. Let's see if we can get the.
Hey.
And you see, as simple as that. So this is the daily data for United States. You see, I just jumped from South Korea to United States. You might say, no, I'm not interested, in the United States. I would like to see, I don't know, any other country, let's say that, you would like to explore what's going on, in Germany. So now, we can do our exploration, for Germany. So you see, if you want to do a very simple, things that I did here, switching the country, going from one country to another country. So Germany is taking a bit longer, but yeah, it's very large. You can adjust, the date, the plotting. But again, that's the plot for the Germany. So as you can see, going from one region to another region in other programming environments, it's a headache.
Mm-hmm.
I really invite all of our, audience, if you know any other programming language, please try to do that. I really invite you to do that. And they would see that how difficult it is to go from one, for example, region to another region. But here in Wolfram language, it's like one line of code, just changing a few things. You notice in less than 1 minute, at least, we had a visualization. If somebody asks us, we already know that South Korea, 2 waves, Germany, 1 wave. So it's as simple as that. And this computational, exploration, of course, it can be done in much more depths. Here, we just did it for a simple visualization.
Yeah. So for people who might be interested in creating their own computational essays, I know you've got a couple more things. We're just about running out of time, but let's go ahead and show people some of those resources that we've got.
Okay, so very quickly, we have an archive for computational notebooks. It is called Notebook Archive. So right now we have a few collections, because these collections they are moderated. So this is somehow the best examples that we have. And again, like the other example, just need to click on that and you can see the article. You can make your own copy, open it on Wolfram Cloud, and you can make any modification that you want. And of course, to make our users' life much easier, we design a template. It's basically how we also have a tutorial on YouTube, so they can watch this tutorial. It's basically walking through what is a computational essay, how they can write down a computational essay, and with a few click, just click on the publish to cloud, and they can share it with anyone else. And by the way, if they use Wolfram Cloud, everything is for free. They can do all of their exploration for free, the same way that I did. Make your own copy, publish it, share it with someone else, or submit it to our notebook archive. This repository is a very complete repository. It's a permanent place for your computational explorations, and we would be more than happy to receive any exploration. Look at the topics. One of them, computer, doodling, geometry, natural, logarithm, phase transition in compartmental models, World War II bombing of, Britain. You see, just look at the topics. Each one is totally different from the other one, right. But you can do, this sort of explorations in the same platform in a simple Wolfram notebook.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the larger goals of this whole idea. Like you said, with Wolfram technology in general and the Wolfram notebook, it sort of makes it easy for you to conceptualize things in a computational way, so that even all kinds of things that you might not have thought of, you can now explore in a little bit more of that interactive kind of computation. So I think that's probably a good place to wrap. I appreciate you talking with me. Anyone watching at home, feel free to check out the Notebook archive. We've got the COVID resource page that Mads showed us, or you can check out Wolfram Community. There are all sorts of computational essays over the place. And if you want to try it yourself, obviously you can sign up for the Wolfram Cloud. Like we said, that's a totally free thing that you can do. Check out that computational essay template on the function repository, and you can look at the YouTube tutorial. So yeah, if you're interested, get started writing your own essays. We look forward to seeing more submissions into the archive and whatnot. Thanks a lot for chatting with us today, Mads.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. You can check out other Wolfram Tech Talks, live coding streams, and more on the Wolfram Research YouTube channel, or see what else is new at wolfram.com.